I'm Marina, I'm 54, and my goal is to be able to play with my grandchildren when I get some.
My name's Michael, I'm 47, and I want to live to be an old man.
My name is Ron, I'm 67 years old, and my ambition in life now would be to see my 4 young grandchildren grow into adulthood.
I think the surprising thing was the speed at which it all happened. It was less than 2 weeks from a sense of being well or fine to a point where I was hospitalised. I think I was at an emergency department when I was told. It was a relief in one sense. Okay, I now know what's wrong with me. But, and my next attitude was, right, well now I know what's wrong with me. It's time to move on. What are we going to do about it?
It would have been early August, late July 2011. For a month prior to that, I was feeling extremely tired, and no energy, just run down. Really, I didn't really know what was wrong, but I knew there was something quite wrong with me. I ended up being admitted to the Austin Hospital. I had, once again, family around me, and I was diagnosed that night with acute myeloid leukemia.
I'd have to say my diagnosis was terribly unexpected. I actually went into the hospital because I had a sore throat for a long period of time. I was losing weight, and I thought it was just my tonsils. I was in the emergency department still. They took me off into a side room, and one of the haematologists came in and sort of like said, "Well, we've got a result from your blood test." And I suppose I was a little bit confused for a little bit to understand exactly what it was. And I said leukemia and things like that. And so I was a little bit confused to what exactly it was, but I thought, well, okay, they've said the word leukemia. That's not a good word. And so I said, basically, where do I go from here?
One of the haematologists came and sat down and said, right, and she gave me a really good explanation of what leukemia was and how I'd been affected. I think she may have been the first person that mentioned this is going to be at least a 6-month treatment. And I think for me that was probably the biggest shock of all, to know that I was going to be receiving treatment for 6 months, and it seemed like an eternity. There's a lot of information coming at once, and your ability to absorb that information is very low. I think you manage to get key points, but the detail it becomes quite a bit of a blur. Because there's so much going on, and you've just got so much. When you were told that, when you've received diagnosis, you are going through a type of shock, I suppose, and your ability to take on a lot of information is limited in that stage. So I can understand their need to want to get you information in early, so you're not ignorant of what's ahead of you. But you only just grasp some of the points. You really don't get a lot of the detail into it.
I think I was a little bit naive about it all, to be honest with you. Wendy, my wife, was very realistic about it all, and she knew the severity of it. I basically just wanted to, let's get on with it, guys, whatever it is, let's get on with it, and the sooner I can get over it, not knowing how severe it really was, the sooner I'm out of here. That was going through my mind at the time.
There was very little decisions I needed to make. At that stage, the disease had taken over to an extent where they needed to start treatment as soon as they could.
I didn't think I had a choice. These were professional medical people. I haven't got the knowledge, and I didn't know exactly what was going on with my particular case. These are people who are very well. The knowledge that they have is incredible, and in them I trust, and I used to say that to them. In them I trust. I wouldn't have even considered I was in the right place in a large hospital with all the facilities, all the amenities, the knowledge of the nursing staff even administrating all of this chemo was just amazing. And I thought, well, just let's get on with it.
Yeah, basically, I got the positive diagnosis from the bone marrow biopsy, so it was AML, acute myeloid leukemia, and the specialist ran through the procedure of treatment that they preferred, basically, and so I wasn't going to sort of say, hey, what about this and that. Funnily enough, I still to today, I've never Googled leukemia. I know what it is and things like that, and I've read books and pamphlets that the nurses and things gave me, but I basically put my faith and my trust into what was happening with the specialists and things like that.
I distinctly remember that the nurse came in and she had a plethora of reading material. She had a lot of handouts, booklets, and she took the time and sat down with me and my wife and literally at least, I think it was up to 2 hours worth going through all the reading material. And she gave me the opportunity to ask questions and ensure that when she'd finished sitting down and having that discussion, I had a really good understanding of what was going on and what was ahead of me.
I suppose the hospital I was in, the nurses, the specialists, they felt like they knew what they were doing. I got support from social worker came in and I had brochures to read and things like that, and I didn't feel like I didn't need to question, sort of I felt there was a confidence and a responsibility from the specialists that this is the procedure and the way of treatment to go.
When the chances were to do trials, absolutely. Will you benefit from them? You will benefit, absolutely. The opportunity for would you be interested in a stem cell transplant was initial, and I thought I wasn't quite eligible. Well, we've got someone who's a very good match if you're interested. In a heartbeat, bang, let's do it. Let's do it yesterday.
Unfortunately, the only thing I could do to manage the responsibilities in my life was pass them all on to my partner to take care of. I think I was burdening her. I think that I knew that my life at that stage, I was full with so many other commitments apart from full-time work that to be able to sit there and ask her to manage all of those and make those phone calls and talk to those people about what's going on. The treatment starts off with what they call induction, which is a fairly intense 24 hours, days worth of chemotherapy that they go through through an intravenous line. And once that happens, after 7 days of this chemotherapy, basically the bone marrow is affected to a point where all your blood counts are just dropped down. Your bone marrow stops producing blood products, and it almost resets and then starts rebuilding hopefully good blood cells.
Well, I went through the chemo treatment as planned. I won't no need to go into the details of what it was, but when that was successful, I was back into remission. This is over a period of probably 3 months. I had bone marrow biopsies, but there was always appeared to be a rogue cell, as it was called by my professor looking after me. They couldn't eliminate this rogue cell, and the leukemia cell would be back again. Now, I went through, I suppose, another dose of chemo. This is over a period of weeks. As it turned out, there was a stem cell donor from America. But in the meantime, I relapsed again, so that was off the table. I went through another dose of chemo, and lo and behold, I was offered a stem cell transplant recipient from Brisbane.
When your immunity system is compromised, they have to put you in a place of isolation, and you are stuck in this area for a time till your immunity system has restored itself. in order to get through that, I found that the best way was to have a daily routine that gave structure to my day. And it was simple things as I would wake up in the morning, shower, and I would get dressed in normal clothes. I found it much better to walk around in normal clothes, fully dressed, rather than stay in my pyjamas all day, just to give some sort of normality to my day. A small amount of exercise was always a good thing. So I would walk up and down the ward, taking my pump with me, listening to some music through some headphones maybe. You maybe set yourself a goal, 45 minutes worth of exercise, or I'm going to get through 10 songs. And by that stage, usually at the end of that, you'll find fairly exhausted, go and lie down.
When I first went into hospital, I think that was my ignorance that I probably saw the bed as my safe spot, because when I had visitors I was isolated, and the bed was my place that I was, and I wasn't moving around as much, and I think that's why I ended up in intensive care, by not keeping my body moving. When I went back in to get the transplant, I kept up a routine. I made sure I got up every morning, had a shower, changed, got out of bed and stayed out of bed until at the end of the night when I was ready to go back to bed. That's when I went back to bed. I sat up. There was exercise bike at the hospital, so I rode that to keep myself moving around. I walked around. I was a little bit more engaged in hospital life then, I suppose, when I was in isolation the second time, to go in for the treatment, for the bone marrow transplant.
When you do go to your doctor's appointments and things, you do need someone like a partner, a husband or wife, someone to pick up the nitty-gritty or the detail. Chemo brain does exist. Chemo brain does exist, and you're not quite. I'm so glad that I had Wendy come with me, who really picked up on everything that you don't realise it at the time. It just goes right, goes over the top of your head actually.
Simple things like having earplugs in at night at least cut the amount of external sound down and gave you a chance to sleep well. Having something as simple as your own pillow made such a big difference. It was just something that was something you were used to, something that was reassuring.
I think the carer is so much more worse off, because life goes on normally for them and they've doubled their load of work. They don't know how you're travelling. They've got to run the place. They've got to talk to everyone. It's a pretty tough gig to be a carer, I think. She was coming and going every day, and I naturally would say, we'll see you tomorrow, not knowing that she had an hour on the road at least and an hour back again.
For me, I found that my body was the one that was sick, and that I had no control over what it was doing. I had no control over the treatment and the results of the side effects. I had no control over any infections I got or fevers, those sorts of things. And the only thing I had control over was my mental state. That's the only thing I was able to manage, and that's the one thing I really focused a lot on.
Be positive about who you are. Don't take the negative on yourself. Allow yourself the freedom to sort of think that this is going to be okay, not think the opposite. Don't take on the negative dwelling. Have fun, laugh with your family, with your support people. Be engaging with the people around you, like the nurses. You're going to see them an awful lot, so you always want to be sort of happy. They're doing their job. They don't have to be there, but they're looking after you. So be aware that sort of like they're not trying to hurt you in any way. They're trying to treat you. So be nice to the people around you.
I knew that I was going to have good days where I was feeling positive, days where I was feeling good physically and my mind was clear. And there were days where I was feeling low, and there were days where I didn't want to get out of bed. And you've got to understand that that's going to happen to you. You're going to have these highs and you're going to have these lows. And I think what you've got to do is look what is driving you forward. You know, is it that wish to get through treatment and go back to the life you had? Is it the wish to come, you know, be back with your family and be at home?
Anyone who has just been diagnosed with AML, once they're on the recovery of it, certainly physio, exercise is a huge benefit in helping you get back to your prior normal self. I can't say that more strongly, actually.
You know, I hate to use the term like there is the light at the end of the tunnel, but there is a new day happening tomorrow. So if you keep the focus on that, the new day happening tomorrow, then you will get through it. You've also got to understand that there is an opportunity here to really see what are the important things and really start to focus on those things. And you'll start to realise that, you know, sometimes you'll learn little things like don't sweat the small stuff, you know. Are you interacting with your children? Could you do it more? You know, there's one of those things I learned was you can never not give your children enough hugs. Simple as that.
Plans now, I'm back at work. I must admit, sort of like after the bone marrow transplant, they advised me that, yes, I am going to be fatigued. And I thought, yeah, that won't happen. I'll be fine. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. You do actually get a little bit fatigued, and it does take a little while to get back into fitness. I will never run a marathon. Sorry, but I'm not going to be doing that. I'm enjoying life. I'm catching up with friends and family. I'm back at work. I'm back doing my volunteer work that I do as well, and I'm having a really good time. I've got fantastic friends and second chance at life.